Hello everyone. So today let us take a look at this question on the community. And this question is very common actually because many people who want to use Jira or who starts using Jira, they want to figure out, they want to understand how we can use, how we can utilize the features of the tool because there are a lot of things that you can do with Jira. But at the same time, you need to know which feature is going to work for you, for your use case really well. Now, in this question, there is this confusion about using states in Jira or in a Jira Scrum based board where you may want to start working on a requirement first before the delivery. So let us say you have a project in Jira where you want to raise a requirement or maybe let us say an epic, and before you can start working on the epic for maybe your delivery, you want to first make sure that the epic is in some way brainstormed or people contribute, or maybe they refine the requirement, they work on the requirement, and when the requirement is complete, then you will select it for delivery. Now, in Jira, when you're working on a board, of course, you can have your status, your workflow that you can use to track different phases. But at the same time, your backlog will basically contain everything, right? Now, from your backlog, you will, of course, pick some items. You will, of course, groom it. I mean, that is totally okay. You can keep one backlog where you have all the requirements, where all the new requirements will go into the backlog. And from backlog, you will, of course, work on the requirement, refine it, estimate it, do some high-level estimation, prioritize it, and then create your sprints. Now, what you can also do, you can also create a separate Kanban board only for selecting the requirements for development or maybe ready for development. So what you can do is you can create a Kanban board, a simple lean Kanban board, and treat it as like a funnel. So in your Kanban board, all the new requirements will come in the first column. So you can have, of course, different columns. And your first column would be, okay, new requirements, open state. Then you will start working on the requirements. So you can have a column called as in review. And then you will have one more column called ready for development, or not even ready for development, but selected for delivery. Or no, not selected for delivery, ready for development, because you want to say that, okay, this requirement is now approved. Oh no, this requirement is now from to do, it moved to in review, then it was approved, then we are ready to develop it. And then you can have your Scrum board, your separate Scrum board that will act like a place where you will display those epics that are ready for development, and then you will put them in the backlog. And from that backlog, that Scrum board's backlog, I mean, it will have basically any epic beyond that ready for development state, and then you will pick it up for delivery and you work on the delivery. You basically break down your stories. Now, there is another question about subtask. No, there is two more questions. So subtask, let us first talk about subtask. So subtask is basically just a way to break down your stories into different smaller deliverables. But when you're using subtask in Jira on a board, on a Scrum board, your story points or whatever estimation that you do will only work at not really work, but your reports will only show and pick up the estimates at the story level. So if you're using subtask for estimation, do that, but also make sure that your story is also updated with the summation. So you can also automate this, but just something that you need to be aware of. The other question is about how do we make sure that the testing or review or QA of your stories will work, whether we should use the same sprint or a different sprint. So it really depends on what you're trying to do with your sprint. If you're trying to deliver or release every sprint, it could be a small piece of work, then you need to make sure that your sprint will include the testing part as well. So make sure that you have a story for it, or maybe in your workflow you have like a column. A separate story would work because you then can assign it to someone else who is probably responsible for only testing, whatever works for you. But this will only work for unit testing where you are just testing that particular functionality. But later on, you may want to do some further sprints to do some integration testing so that you test everything together. So it really depends on your use case. But I would say that if you are trying to use Jira in the beginning, you need to, of course, tooling is there. Tooling is great tooling works, but you need to also work with a Scrum Master or someone like me who can actually help you with both, because I can first try to figure out what you're doing as a company or as a team, what exactly you're trying to deliver, but at the same time, you need to figure out how to best configure the tool. And of course, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel to learn more about these wonderful things that you can do with Jira. All right, that is all. That is all for today. I hope you enjoyed watching this video and you learned something new. Thank you very much. Bye bye.